Morning, Sylvain. Are you muted? Oh, okay. It happens. Okay, so I've got 8:30 right now, so we'll give folks another couple of minutes to join in. Hey, Siobhan, good evening. If I could ask everybody who's attending to write their name on the attendee list, that would be awesome. Oh, new headphones, Mike said. Oh, new headphones. Okay. Okay, so it is 8:31 Pacific. So Crystal, I think we can go ahead and get started.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead.
Okay, awesome. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Add-ons community meeting for July 3rd, 2019. Hope that everyone is doing well. We're joined today with Siobhan, Sylvain, Christophe, and I see that Andreas just joined. Hi, Andreas. So I wanted to kick off this meeting by acknowledging a friend of Add-on. So I wanted to give a shout out to Mirafly. Mirafly started contributing code to AMO in January of this year, and they have been pretty active ever since. Last month, they submitted 6 PRs. It's been really awesome to see Mirafly grow as a web developer, and we're very excited and very grateful that they are choosing to share their time and talent with us. So thanks so much for all the patches, Mirafly. I also just wanted to briefly acknowledge that we had probably 3 or 4 folks come in with their very first patches to the Web Extensions API in the last month. It's really exciting to see new folks come in and land patches in Firefox. So very proud to see a lot of folks tackling that and getting those patches through the finish line. So really awesome, really great to see our community growing a little bit. So thank you. Wanted to move into just a little bit of administrivia before we get into the meat of today's discussion. So our next community meeting, which I believe is July 19th, but if I'm off by a couple of days, I'm sorry. That meeting is going to be canceled. I'm going to be out on PTO that week, so we'll be meeting back in August. And as a reminder, if you would like to submit a submission or submit a session proposal for MozFest this year in October, those are due August 1st. So you still have a couple months to put, or couple weeks to put together your proposal and get that submitted. As a friendly reminder. Does show, oh, okay, great. And I see a question, is show and tell on July 19th canceled as well? I'm going to try to find another host for show and tell, but if I can't find another host, we may end up canceling it. Yeah. You suggest Andreas. No, we can't punish Andreas just because he's in the room. Kumar used to host those meetings, so if Kumar's around, he might be able to do it, or Luca. I'll start with those folks and see if, or Will actually is like really into show and tell, so Will might be able to host, which I think would be delightful. All right, so a couple weeks ago, the team was in Whistler for the Mozilla All Hands, which is kind of a week where we get together and do some hardcore planning and priority alignment. I wasn't there. I was out on PTO that week. I was out on PTO that week to celebrate a family member's birthday. But I was wondering, we've got 2 folks here who were there. So Andreas, I was wondering if you could give us kind of like a quick recap of your experience at Whistler and like some of the stuff that was talked about and discussed, and yeah.
Sure. So we met in Whistler. We did lots of talks and discussions about how Q2 went, and also the plan forward for Q3 and the rest of the year. As I think we might have mentioned in the past community meeting, if I remember correctly, there has been some spam submissions going on. So that is an initiative we're focusing on in Q3 to come up with better tools and better processes to fight malicious submissions and spam in particular. So both are kind of separate, but also together, because one can be the other sometimes. So there's lots of work going on in the back end, which might not necessarily be visible to end users directly, but we hope that eventually it will be, because we will have more effective tools and more effective measures against malicious activity, and also better insight on in what's going on in the AMO ecosystem, both listed and also for unlisted add-ons. We also, and I think that's really cool, I'm pretty sure we talked about this already, the upcoming recommended extensions program. We spent some time in Whistler on testing the entire process from end to end. So both from an editorial side, which Scott Devaney is working on, also the entire engineering side and the reviewer side, so that when we launch the recommended extensions program later this year, we can be sure that that everything runs smoothly. I don't know really how much I can tell right now about the recommended extensions program, but it is ongoing and we are in contact with developers.
Yeah, so I think we have, we've identified a primary batch of extensions for the recommended extensions program. So I believe with Firefox 68 going into release soon, we have some folks are going to be able to start seeing badges for recommended extensions in the add-ons manager, and I believe also on AMO. So there should be a blog post coming out pretty soon about that. In 68, there's also going to be a feature where people can report add-ons for abuse from the add-ons manager directly. So there's going to be like a little ellipsis bar that shows up next to the extension where you have the opportunity to report, and then it'll ask you a couple of questions about like, why are you reporting this extension? And that'll help us on the back end kind of like see if like, it'll give us a little bit more data on the back end when we do the investigations. And then I think you'll also have an opportunity to report extensions for abuse when you uninstall them. So if you think that an add-on is being malicious at the time that you decide that you really don't want to mess with it, you can go ahead and report it, and we can look into it. So those are coming pretty soon. And then the plan for recommended extensions is to continue finding more extensions in the recommended program. So I think Scott feels pretty confident about the set that we're launching with, but he does want to like kind of deepen the bench a little bit, so to speak, in the upcoming months. And then the next thing going on with recommended extensions, that's going to take a little bit longer. So that's going to be like a Q3, Q4 thing, is revamping the featured advisory board into, and like kind of morphing it into the recommended extensions advisory board, and then launching that program and getting community involved with the recommended extensions program. Okay, sorry, Andreas, I just totally ran over.
All good, perfect, thank you.
Thought I would fill that in. Cool. Anything else from Whistler? Those are the big highlights.
I think so. Can't remember.
Okay. It was so long ago. Okay, that's really great. Cool. I think I'm actually going to reorder this agenda really quickly because I think that segues in really nicely with the plans for AMO Q3 planning that Jorge published to the Dev Add-ons mailing list yesterday. So the big priorities for Q3 is a redesign of the homepage. So this is going to get us a little bit more in alignment with the rest of the new Firefox branding, which is kind of being released now. And when you see Extension Workshop or the Extension Workshop Phase 2, when that launches later this year, you're going to see the new branding reflected there. It's also going to give us a little bit more opportunity to like customize. It's going to be a little bit more streamlined. So users should be able to be directed more towards recommended content pretty quickly. And I think it might also be easier for us to kind of like plug stuff in. Although it's pretty easy right now. So that'll be coming up. Along with that, we're redesigning the developer hub landing page. So both the authenticated view and the unauthenticated view. Again, as a brand as a brand update, and also to kind of better tie in with Extension Workshop, so people have a bit better sense of orientation for where to find information about how to improve or how to make sure that their Firefox extensions are successful. Sorry, I don't want to necessarily say improve because that's not all of the content that's going to be there, but finding tips and tricks, etc. And then comments in the code manager, which I'm not entirely sure what that means. Andreas might have more information about the code manager goal.
Yes. So for the earlier part of the year, we have been working on this code manager thing, which is basically a replacement of the current file viewer thing, which is basically what it says almost. Gives the reviewers a way to view the submitted file, the submitted extension by developers on the website. So it helps us review the code. It is augmented with certain notifications that come from our validation and linting pipeline. And this file viewer tool is being rewritten. It's called Code Manager now. And the thing that we will be working on in Q3, the comments part, is that in the future we want the Code Manager to be able to, or we want reviewers to be able to add comments about specific lines or about a specific file in the add-on directly in the Code Manager itself, so next to the code. The current process is in a way where the reviewer just puts text in a text box, and that gets sent to the developer when the review is done. In the future, we want to not put the review text in a text box, but annotate individual lines in the Code Manager with the specific issue that we see at a certain line. And from those comments, then the email is compiled and sent to the developer. That gives developers a much better overview of things we find in their code, and it gives reviewers a much better way of actually raising these issues, and it also helps us analyzing special patterns in code in case we see something more often.
Great. And then as Andreas mentioned earlier, spam is still a problem for us, and we're working on ways of mitigating it. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing to note there. So spam mitigation is not an easy task, and that's why you might have heard us talking about it for a while, and we might still be talking about it for a while until you see stuff. But some things have already been implemented, and of course developers find creative ways to work around that. So it is kind of an arms race, and it's also kind of involved. It requires a couple of departments work together. So unfortunately, there are no quick solutions there, and it will just take a while until until we have all the things in place that we need to be really effective against this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem with, sorry, I don't want to say the problem with creativity, but because it's not, it's just people, yeah, people adapt and change. So yeah, thanks for all your work around that, Andreas. So at this time, are there any questions about the Whistler All Hands or about AMO Q3 planning? Or about AMO Q2, which involved fun non-roadmap items like Armageddon? I'm just kidding. We actually have, we've got the postmortem information coming out pretty imminently about the Armageddon follow-up. So I think what's going to be happening pretty soon is that Ecker, our Firefox CTO, is going to be publishing a blog post to the Hacks blog, and then that's going to link out to a couple separate reports and analyses with some recommended next steps. So if that doesn't happen this week, it's probably only because of the July 4th national holiday for the US, but those drafts are in review, and we should be seeing that come out pretty soon. So we'll share some links to that when it's available. Okay, so I wanted to move on to kind of the next topic, which is about our Activate campaign. So one of the first things I did when I started working here in 2016 was pull together a campaign for our Rex program and other technical friends who may be who were kind of interested in working on some accessible technical projects to work on for Mozilla. So we built the Build Your Own extension campaign for Firefox, kind of as a way of like promoting the new Web Extensions API and getting more folks involved in our development pipeline. We looked a lot, or I in particular looked a lot to our community to kind of like develop and grow this initiative. And we had some really amazing work done by Vishwa, Santosh, Karthik, Trishul, Daniele, Shivam jumped in, and Tushar. And basically they took the lead in kind of designing a curriculum, building an amazing set of supplemental materials. A lot of them were speaking to an audience who were familiar with back-end programming technologies, but not necessarily any of the front-end web development skills, which is kind of what the Web Extensions API was initially targeted for. So there was just a lot of really great ways of on-ramping people to being more comfortable and familiar programming JavaScript. It was really successful, especially in India. We saw events with hundreds of people turning out to build extensions and find creative ways of solving problems that they encountered when they were browsing. And unfortunately, given the current state of malicious extension developers kind of infiltrating our ecosystem and the spam problem, we have made a decision that we're going to archive the Build Your Own extension campaign for the time being, so that we can focus a little bit more on getting everything else under control from AMO. So first, I wanted to acknowledge like all of the amazing work and that went into creating a really great, robust campaign. From my perspective, it was really successful. And I'm just really deeply appreciative to have gotten the opportunity to collaborate with some really incredible contributors who, you know, brought a smile to my face and really inspired me to show up and make everything as successful as it could be. So I would like to replace that campaign with something else that that can help community members get involved with the extensions ecosystem. Extension development kind of off the table, but I wanted to throw it out there. I'm open to ideas about what that might be. So I know Shivam had an idea about finding malicious extensions, which unfortunately may not be super doable given like the current state. I know Andreas has done a lot of like machine learning work to kind of take patterns that we know exist and get those processes automated. so that kind of like doesn't hit humans as hard anymore. So unfortunately, I don't think that we're going to be able to move forward with that. But something I wanted to ask, like, are there any other like security or privacy ideas that people could get involved with? Kind of wanted to throw that out there for ideas. And also, one of the things I've been thinking of was running an activity about themes, which are, I think, I could be mistaken, I think present a smaller attack surface for spam and malicious developers. So, and with the themes, I thought we could offer 2 tracks. We could offer like a non-technical track where you could learn how to use the AMO theme generator or Firefox color to create a theme that you could put on your browser that you could use to customize Firefox, or you could code an XPI file if you were feeling a little bit more technical. Oh, awesome. And I see from the chat that Sylvain says that he had an idea about finding malicious extensions and wants to talk about it at the next show and tell. That is fantastic. Okay, so we do need to find a host for the next add-on show and tell, is what I'm hearing. Yeah, I think that would, yeah, I'd definitely love to see some stuff. Some of the campaigns that also get run through Activate are things like web compat, so people can run campaigns where they try to find which popular extensions don't work very well in Firefox and report them to our web compat team so they can work on making sure that those sites render well in Firefox. And then we've got like a number of bug hunting campaigns. So yeah, if we could do something where we could leverage the power of the community to help improve privacy and security, that would be awesome. So if you have any ideas, please feel free to reach out to me. Email is probably going to be the best for a couple of weeks just because of PTO and holidays coming up. And if it's in the inbox, then I will be able to track it a little bit better. But please feel free to reach out. Okay, so that was all I had to share with Activate. Are there any questions about any of this stuff, or does anyone want to talk about anything else that they've been working on or have questions about? Okay, awesome. So at our next meeting, which will be in August, we should have some updates about Extension Workshop, which is currently under page building. Sorry, it's currently in the page building process right now. So we have some of the basic infrastructure set up. So now we're actually building out pages, and we're gonna start populating them with content. Our launch, we still don't have a hard set date yet, but it's going to be sometime this half of the year. So potentially later in Q3. As a side note, if you know Jekyll and know a great way of implementing internationalization on a Jekyll site, I would love to pick your brain about what that looks like. So yeah, we'll have an update on that, and then anything else that kind of bubbles up, new developments, etc., we'll be sure to share those at the August meeting. So awesome. All right, great. Well, thanks everybody for joining, and we'll talk to you in about a month. All right, bye everyone.